दुनिया के बाकी तरक्याती ममालिक की तरह अगर पाकिस्तान में भी चाइल्ड एडवोकेसी सेंटर का क़याम किया जाए तो उससे बच्चों के साथ ज़्यादती के केसेस में काफ़ी हद तक कमी देखी जा सकती है। अगर मैं तफसील में बताऊं तो चाइल्ड एडवोकेसी सेंटर एक ऐसा सेंटर है जहां पे बच्चों का फोरेंसिक इंटरव्यू किया जाता है, उनकी रिकॉर्डिंग की जाती है, उनकी काउंसलिंग की जाती है और एक ही छत के नीचे तमाम तर इंतज़ामात को पूरा किया जाता है। अगर ये कानून पाकिस्तान में नाफिज हो जाए तो इस हवाले से जिनसी तशद्दुद के साथ काम करने वालों की क्या राय है, आइए जानते हैं।
Hello, my name is Sheree Goldman. I'm a nurse practitioner and I work for a sexual assault response team program. I want to thank Urdu USA for inviting me to share with you what we do in our program and what we do in the United States to help children who've been abused. Because I believe there is interest in doing something similar in Pakistan. I'm very much in favor of how we interview children and examine them in a child-friendly environment. I'd like to explain to you what it's like. First of all, when children have been abused, it may be the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to them, and it's really hard for them to talk about. So without a child advocacy center, a child probably has to tell the same thing over and over to different people, to maybe their family, their teacher, a social worker, police, the court. There's a long list of people, a doctor. But when we have a child advocacy center, all those people come to them, so they only have to say it one time. And we have a very child-friendly environment where there are toys, stuffed animals, people who are trained to ask questions in the right way so we don't re-traumatize them. In addition, children may never get the opportunity to tell their story because most of the children know their abusers and they may be afraid of getting them into trouble. If they have to go to a police station, for example, to tell their story, they may think they're in trouble for that too and be very hesitant to disclose what happened. We separate the children and they go in a room by themselves with a specially trained interviewer. It could be a social worker or a nurse or a police officer who has had training on how to do these sensitive interviews. And we do it in a room that has what looks like a mirror to the child, but on the other side is a separate observation room where the interview is being recorded. The children are shown that that's happening on the other side, but they soon become relaxed and they forget, and they just start talking about what happened. The observers are listening and watching and recording the interview. Usually we have in that room an investigator from the police, a social worker or a child behavioral health worker, maybe a medical person, and usually the DA is listening and they can do that remotely. When the interview is complete, we knock on the window. It's very high tech. We knock on the window and the interviewer will come to us and say, was there something else? And we might say, yes, could you go back to what happened on her birthday again, for example? And we weren't clear about that. And so the interviewer will get more information on whatever topic that we think is important. And then when we're all satisfied that the interview is over, we can give the child snacks, drinks, whatever they need, and often we will offer them an exam for the physical findings of whatever had happened to them. We involve the child with that, and it's interesting in my state, children need to be 12 years old or older, and that's all, to sign consent for their exam. If they're younger than 12, I still ask them for their assent, which is their verbal permission for me to touch them and examine them. And when we are examining the children for sexual abuse, we use a special piece of equipment called a colposcope, which is basically a light source with a camera and it magnifies what we're looking at, so that's all attached. We have a small remote control for the child to hold on to, and we ask them to participate if they want to by clicking and taking pictures, and that helps the child stay focused and engaged, and becoming part of the process gives them a lot of agency. When that exam is finished, then we send the report to the police and the district attorney, and maybe we'll make a follow-up recommendation, and we'll do some kind of photo review with a larger team. The video from the recording also is forwarded to investigation and to the district attorney's office. The police are trained in our area to not take a long report from the child. Instead, they just get enough of the basic information that they know the child needs a formal interview with someone who has had training to interview children. So they will make an appointment to come into the center where they will meet with the child interviewer, and the rest of the team will be there. The child gets the support, as does their family, from our crisis center personnel, and they will have an advocate assigned to help them with information and emotional support and just to navigate the system. They will also, in some cases, be paired with someone from the Child Protective Service team, make sure that they're safe at home. There are really two investigations going on. One is for the police to see if a crime has been committed, and the other investigation is from social services to make sure that the child is safe. At the end of the interview, we do have someone from Child Behavioral Health present, and that person will do a check-in with the child off camera, just privately, to see how the child is feeling, to make sure that if there is anything that was traumatizing for them, that they can address it right away. We interview children from probably the youngest would be 3 if they have enough language to be able to be interviewed, through 18. And we also interview adults who have developmental disabilities and need to be interviewed with the special techniques and knowledge that those interviewers have. A lot of people worry that bringing their child in for an interview or for an exam is going to be very traumatic for them. But that has not been my experience. In fact, I see children come in looking curious and hesitant, but they soon warm up. They meet their new friends who are part of the MDT, and they are playing with the toys, and they are beginning to relax. And after the interview or the exam, they leave looking like they feel much better. There is an established multidisciplinary team, and that would consist of investigators from various police agencies, social workers, child behavioral health workers, nurses and physicians, and district attorneys who are prosecuting these cases. And we meet monthly and we review cases to see what needs to be done, what maybe we need to do differently, and how we are serving the child and the family. When the multidisciplinary team meets, we have a confidentiality agreement that we all sign, because this is very sensitive information. So only people who really need to be at that meeting are present, and we do not talk about it outside of the meeting or outside of the people we're working with on the case. And I think the multidisciplinary team review is a very important part of having a child advocacy center. Not only is the content of those meetings important, but getting to know all of the different people from the various disciplines really helps things go smoothly in a crisis. We also know that this type of multidisciplinary team approach really helps with not only the outcome that happens in the criminal justice system, but also for the long-term healing of the child. And when the child is preparing to go to court, we bring them to the court, and they get to see where they will be sitting. They get to meet people that will be working with them, and we even have a courtroom dog that can accompany them and sit with them at their feet when they're testifying. So I would say for any community that hasn't explored the possibility of setting up a child advocacy center, that it would be a very worthwhile project. One would need to have a building and the ability to record the children. A two-way mirror or two-way window is very easy to establish in a room. And then decorating the room so it's simple but child-friendly. Having the personnel train, and right now it's very easy to come across trainings because there are so many things that are virtual. So learning how to do these interviews in a child-friendly, non-traumatizing way is very important. And it is totally a team concept because everyone is working together for the goal of helping the child, helping the family, and bringing justice.